All right, it looks like we're live. Let's see. I don't know. Yeah.
There we are.
You see it?
Yeah.
All right. All right, guys. I guess we got to start this thing. Sorry about that delay. Technology and all its quirks. Let's see. So thank you everybody for joining us. Tonight we're going to be talking about Alpine touring equipment. But before we do that, I want to say a couple things. I want to talk about the Catamount Trail Association. The Catamount Trails, this series is hosted by the Catamount Trail Association. And the Catamount Trail is a 300-mile long backcountry ski trail that runs the length of Vermont. The Catamount Trail Association is the organization that maintains that trail. Also, along with our chapters, we manage a number of backcountry zones across Vermont. And during the winter, we run a youth program, which last year put over 500 kids on skis. You can learn more about the Catamount Trail Association. You can become a member. And if you are feeling generous, make a donation on our website at catamounttrail.org. So before we get going, I think we should all introduce ourselves. My name's Greg Maino. I live in Burlington and I work at the Catamount Trail Association. I started skiing around 10 years ago. I was a snowboarder for a long time and got into skiing specifically to explore the backcountry more. I'm actually not a very good skier, so backcountry skiing really appealed to me because there's more skinning than skiing, so I kind of appreciate that. And so, yeah, I really enjoy it. Most of my turns are done in the backcountry or human powered. I don't very often ride lifts. And so hopefully some of the information we share tonight will be helpful to you guys. Tristan?
Hey everyone, my name's Tristan Von Duntz. I got into skiing, I think 15 years ago, simply to get into the mountains more, I suppose. I used to be a snowshoer, and I kind of felt like, I kind of wanted to move a little bit faster, and I found myself gliding on snowshoes a little bit too much. So I started working at Onion River Sports and went and backcountry skied one day, and that was it. I don't think I touched snowshoes for a long time, and I started skiing a lot. Totally into human-powered skiing. I don't do a lot of lift serve. I do it on occasion. But I live out in Marshfield, Vermont here, so I live really close to Groton State Forest, which has a lot of terrain, a lot of fun stuff, a lot of low-angle stuff, off the beaten path. And so for like the last 15 years, it's just been a lot of fun kicking and gliding and taking my daughter out into the backcountry and teaching her a couple things. And so, yeah.
Awesome. Kenzie?
Hi, I'm Kenzie Fuqua. I am a technical sales manager at OGE, and I have been skiing since I can remember. I was put on skis, I think, when I was 3, but spent a lot of time Nordic skiing. I raced in high school and in college. And when I moved to Vermont about 8 years ago is when I really got into backcountry skiing, specifically because of the Nordic aspect of it, of actually earning my turns. And ever since then, I think about 95% of my skiing is in the backcountry. I only go and ride lifts when I have to for work or when people are visiting. And I live over in Stowe, which is a fantastic area to have so much literally in the backyard to ski at. Yeah, skiing is it's a huge part of who I am, and I don't think I would be who I am without it.
Thank you. Joshua?
Hey everyone, I'm Josh Burns. I'm a Catamount Trail member, volunteer, residing in Huntington, Vermont. Love getting out, earning turns. I first started backcountry skiing in 2009. I took a snowboard to a table saw, so I guess I was splitboarding at first, and pretty janky setup, but at least it got me out there exploring the woods and kind of finding just wild places that you wouldn't find normally, just kind of poking off the lifts and all. So just that same kind of sentiment just keeps me stoked getting out into the backcountry more and finding new places. And, you can't get stuck in the same place, just keep exploring new areas. And that's what keeps it fun.
Great. Thanks, guys. Before we get going into the gear, I do want to say that we're not here to tell anybody what to buy or that, you should buy a specific product. We're really just here to share what we're using and a little bit about why we ended up using the gear that we're currently using to help everybody kind of make better decisions about when you go into your local shop or into a place like OGE and you're staring down the equipment wall and you have 200 pairs of skis in front of you or like 40 pairs of bindings, like how do you make a good decision? None of this stuff is cheap. So if you're going to invest in this sport, you want to feel like you're making a good decision. So we're just here to kind of like share what we're doing and why we're doing it. And hopefully that can help you make decisions when you're the next time you have to purchase something. Let's start with skis and bindings. Anybody want to go first? How about Tristan, since you're kind of the outlier with the telemark stuff?
Oh yeah, does anyone even telemark ski anymore? I was going to ask you that before.
Personally, I think for like the low angle stuff and like, rolling terrain, telemark's the way to go, like a pair of like fat fish scaled skis and a tele binding, like,
yeah.
That's swoon worthy right there.
Yeah, no, I like that. Yeah, so I do a lot of low angle out my backyard. Just really fun stuff. Like if I have an hour or two, I go out to a field and no skins. So I have a Volley Vector BC, right? Probably my favorite ski, just because of how light it is actually. My other setup is Black Diamond Verdict, which I use for like if I go to Bolton or Nebraska Valley, if I'm gonna go hit some blades. But really my favorite ski, if I just want to get out for an hour and I don't want to think and I just want to grab something, I grab this. And this actually is mated up with a 3-pin hardwire binding. So it actually does have cables, right? So some people might be more familiar with a 3-pin cable, which is just like a spring, kind of not old timey, but it's around $150. The hardwire, the big difference is it's on a 20 mil riser. So you get better edge to edge. And it's a much more powerful, right? 3-pin, right? So it's not like a switchback. It actually has the 3 pins in the front on the 75 mil. So when I'm just climbing, I actually, a lot of the times will just have my cables locked out behind the seal riser here, and I'll just be 3-pinning because it's really fast and quick and feels really good. And then you get to the top of the hill, and then you can, your cables are adjusted for whatever boot you're using, and then you can get that power going down. So this ski, when I first skied it, I was kind of skeptical. It was, I think, the first ski that was pretty fat. I think the fattest ski in the market back then was probably when it was still Karhu, the Karhu Guide. And so when this came out, everyone was kind of like, oh man, like that's like a pretty big ski, but it's pretty light. And I think the first time I skied it was at the Bolton Catamount Trail Association Backcountry Festival. And I immediately loved how well this ski climbs with the waxless pattern, which immediately made me think, oh man, this ski is not going to be fun going downhill. But it was the exact opposite. This is a super fun rock, what they call it, a hybrid rockered ski. I think a 121 in the shovel, 110 in the tail, maybe 96 underfoot. So like I said, this ski, if you're a telemark skier and you're going to go do some steep stuff or even low angle stuff, this is such an easy ski to grab and just throw it in your car. And then you don't have to like worry about the 8 other pairs of skis you might have in your closet, which we probably all do here. So this is my favorite ski by far, no matter kind of where I'm going. If I'm touring or if I'm going up to go down on a powder day, you cannot go wrong with this. So this is, I love this ski. Yeah.
And I know, I do know a lot of people that also use them with an AT setup.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah, I certainly do.
I really enjoy it. Again, it's just like, if you have terrain where there's a lot of transitions, it's this way to just, and you don't have, it's not super steep.
Yep.
It's a great way to go.
And you can carry skins, I'll carry skins with me if I'm lazy or I'm tired or you hit like a steep something or like, your buddy lies to you and you actually have like a really steep approach. You can throw skins on that, no problem. Oh, and it does have a sintered base. So a lot of people don't know, but you can wax the tip and the ski. And the wax will sew sintered base. which will make it faster. So if you're like, oh man, you're on waxless skis, you're going to be dragging the whole way down, waxing that tip and tail the night before, or F4 will make that ski a bit quicker and keep that snow from sticking to the base. So yeah.
Nice. Thank you.
Enough said.
Anybody else want to go? Kenzie?
Well, I'm kind of cheating because I'm at work right now, so my setups are at home. But the nice thing is I have all of the toys to choose from that I actually use here in the store. So my daily driver ski is the Fisher Ranger 102. It's not the lightest weight thing in the world by any means. It's actually kind of heavy. But it skis so nicely, like in really tight trees and also just like ripping wide open groomers. If I do decide that I'm just gonna like go skin up Bolton or go skin up Stowe in the morning, it just skis well on pretty much anything that you can imagine. Like I said, it's really not the lightest thing in the world, but it gets the job done for most of the terrain that I like to do. And then my bindings that I have on that guy are these guys right here. These are the ST rotations from Deena Fit. And I think these are probably my favorite bindings I've ever had. And it's because of how safe they are. I've had ACL tears and I really don't want to continue tearing ACLs. So the fact that it gives a little bit in the toe to allow for a lack of pre-release is really nice. So that's my ski that I ski all the time. But, you know, as Tristan was saying, we all have so many skis that we use. I have something similar to what he has, but with a tech binding on it that's super lightweight. I have the Volet Objective BCs. And then I also ski on some DPS Yvette skis that have a G3 binding on them. So it's really just what is going to be the best tool for the job that day.
Great, thank you. And Josh?
Yeah, I'll swing the other way and go for the one tool for almost every job. This here is this is the Armada Tracer 88. It's a great East Coast ski. You know, if you were out west, you might want to size this waist width up, 10 millimeters or so. But for the East Coast, an 88 underfoot can pretty much do it all. The construction of the Tracer kind of gives you a nice nose rocker, camber underfoot to make sure that you can still hold an edge in those shoddy conditions. But give you plenty of float in deeper pockets of snow around here. I've comboed this with something similar to what Kenzie was talking about. This is the Deena Fit Speed Turn. So this is a real economical way to get into the tech binding area, but still just a tried and true binding. They've been skiing on this binding pretty much in Europe for, 20 plus years or something, and not much has changed. I will say the analogy I like to use with the tech bindings, if you're looking to make that step and get into a tech binding, is it does ski similar to a hardtail mountain bike. It's a little more rigid. It doesn't really give you that shock absorption that your full suspension Yeti might. But we're out there skiing deep snow. You don't need shock absorption when you're foot deep in powder. But yeah, anyway, so the tech bindings, they make it real efficient for you to spend a long time on your feet. So I really kind of switched over to this setup to do multiple laps, to spend long outings. The Bolt and the Traps trail, you're out there real long time on your feet. It's more like hiking than it is skiing a lot of times, even though there are fun bits in there.
Yeah.
But yeah, the pin setup, it keeps the pins up close to the toes of your boot. This makes for a nice natural slide. And then once you get to so you have that kind of switched over backwards. Once you get to the top looking to transition, it's just an easy turn and step, and you can go and rip those skins and go. Really efficient, just really fun to be out there. But yeah, nice, super lightweight. You're not lugging around a frame with every step. So it just kind of a joy to be nice and easy and out for a hike for the day.
Totally.
Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you, Josh. And so I brought two pairs of skis. I brought, actually my daily driver is probably this Salomon mountain ski at the S-Lab Mountain, just because I have two littles at home. So most most of my skiing is like pre-work, like inbounds laps, like more fitness touring or fitness maintenance. And so I like this ski. It's 80 underfoot. It's super light. It's got a really simple binding, again, a Salomon binding on it. It's a tech binding. It's got a little bumper so you can, to stop your toe. So it's really easy to get into. I run it with a brake just because I'm skiing inbounds a lot. And, if your ski comes off, it can go flying around. I just like how simple this binding is. And I also like the brake is disassociated from the ski. Like it's two separate things. Like it's, you can take it off if I wanted to, or if it got caught up and broken, I could just remove this and I wouldn't have to replace like the whole heel piece. I feel like a lot of new bindings like the G3s and the Deena fits, they have that integrated brake. And if you break, if anything bends or gets broken, you have to have that whole heel piece replaced, which is kind of a little bit of a bummer. So yeah, I really like this just because it's super light. It skis really well on hard pack. It's still wide enough that if like I show up and there's like a secret powder day, it still skis really well. So it's just like it's a pretty good all around ski. And then again, for like spring skiing conditions, it's just, again, it's super light. It provides a wide enough platform and enough platform to like make good turns. And it definitely is more ski than I need as being not a great skier. So I definitely never run out of ski with this. The other ski I brought is another Salomon ski. This is the Mountain 90 or 95. So it's a little bit bigger underfoot. And again, it's not like this, it's a pretty light ski, but it's not the lightest ski in the world. So it still skis pretty well on the downhill. I feel like one of the problems with like super light skis is they go up really well, but then when you turn around and come down, they just don't ski that great. Like a damp ski there's no special technology in there. It's a heavy ski. Heavy skis are damp. Like and so like a heavier ski is going to ski better, but it's not going to climb as well. And I feel like I went with this ski because it was a good compromise between kind of like skiability and weight, and also on width. 95 underfoot isn't a huge ski, but on a powder day, it's more than enough. I do sometimes wish for a bigger ski early season when there's not a lot of snow and in like crusty conditions, because a wider ski gives you a little bit more platform, and so you're punching through a little bit less. But generally, like on a real powder day, like this ski's great. I feel like fat skis you really need fat skis when there's not a lot of snow to get up so you can use as much of it as possible. This binding that I have on here is one of the original, the Radical 2.0 when it first came out. So it also has the rotating toe, but this one doesn't have like the little detent that holds it in place. So this one's, tech bindings are already a little bit fiddly, and this one's like extra fiddly because when it's in, it just kind of like moves and there's nothing to tell you where it's centered. So like you click in, and if your foot's not perfectly lined up, it takes a minute to like, get your heel just perfectly lined up before you can boot in. And so I like this binding, and I like that it's safe, but I would probably update. It would be nice to go up to like the new rotation, which does have that little indentation that tells you when it's centered. So it gives you a little bit of feedback so you know when you're going to kick in. Other than that, yeah, I've been really enjoyed this setup. I'll ski this one inbounds. Like if I am going for a resort day, this is the one I'll take. And yeah, I kind of wish I had a fatter ski, but doesn't everybody?
Yeah, I recently got a 112 waist width ski that I'm so stoked on. Yeah. That I actually put one of the few new tech bindings that you can remove the brakes from on there, the G3Z.
Nice.
Which is a really awesome, safe, and lightweight binding. So quick question before we move on the bindings. All the three of us that are on AT setups, we all have tech bindings. Now, what about frame bindings? Because I know a lot of people, I see a lot of questions online, and we get a lot of questions from people about frame bindings. And there's always, if you're in one of the forums, there's always somebody that's just like, don't buy a frame binding, just go with the tech binding. But do they have a place? What do you guys think? I mean, I started on a frame binding. It was cheap, like tech bindings, like even the Speed Radicals or whatever, I forget the model that you have. They're still like $400.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, I think that the frame bindings, of course, have a place. I think the whole spectrum of bindings. So whether that be the frame bindings that has a pivot that's way in front of the toe, that's not quite as natural, to the super lightweight tech bindings, to the new hybrids that are coming out, which are super popular. We're selling them like crazy at OGE, the shifts and the kingpins and that kind of stuff. I think it's really just speaking to the different users that are out there. The thing that I love about the frame bindings is that that's what a lot of people are starting their kids in. So it's something that you don't necessarily need to have a tech compatible boot to use, but you can still set your kids going uphill on those bindings for like $350. And otherwise it's going to ski exactly the same as their downhill bindings do. So it's, economically, it makes so much sense.
Nice. Yeah, I just think that you kind of have to just weigh your options and how much time are you going to spend on piste to, in the backcountry. If you're 20%, backcountry to 80% ride and lifts, a frame binding is a great way to be able to just kind of poke out and still have some fun, do some touring. But most of the time you have that solid binding underneath you for the days at the resort. If you're coming from like a race background too, where you're really charging hard, I don't know I haven't had any issues and I haven't really heard of problems with tech bindings, but they are still just a couple pins in that binding.
Sure. And I do think long-term durability is probably an issue. And like somebody, like you were saying before, like that suspension, like the fact that there's some elasticity in a frame binding does provide like a better, like hard conditions, which, we often run into around here. A little bit more performance there. So they are heavier and maybe they don't tour as well, but I mean, I started on them and I had a really good time on them. And, I think if you're getting into it, it's like a great way to go just because you don't have to, it gets you out there. And,
right.
And it saves you some money. And, I think if you already had like, if you were, say you're an alpine skier this year and you're like, I'm going to try backcountry skiing this year. And you're buying a dedicated backcountry setup, I would probably, and money wasn't a huge issue, I would still probably recommend going to pin binding just because it's going to provide the best, not even if it doesn't tour, even if touring and like performance and weight isn't a big issue to you, like they clear ice better, they're easier to use and they provide less headaches when you're out there in the deep snow or freezing fog or whatever it is you run into. They just tend to work better.
All Northeast conditions.
Yeah, all of them. I do still think that the frame bindings are actually kind of being beaten out by the Salomon Armada Atomic Shift though, which I actually brought in because it's such a popular binding, in case you guys don't know what it is, which probably everyone in the world knows what this is at some point. But the reason I think it's so cool for someone that's looking for that 50-50 setup or even like 20% backcountry, 80% front side setup is because it still does release exactly like your normal alpine binding does, but you get that natural pivot point with that toe right there. The one downside I see of it is that it only has one climbing bar, which is a pain in the butt. But that's what we're selling the majority of. And honestly, like a lot of my friends that come from race backgrounds, they're going for this just because of that mentality of looking down at their toe and saying, okay, I see this whole bale over my toe. I feel safe knowing that, but I still want the tourability for up. It's not saving a lot of money, but it's great for that kind of hybrid user.
Yeah, I mean, and I think if all of us look back on these aren't our first skis. We've gone through a lot of skis. And so the thing is like, you're never, and like everybody, what's the rule with skis, right? N+1. So,
yeah.
So the reality is like, whatever gets you out there, right? I mean, if it gets you out there, like that's the right kit for you. So I don't know. All right, let's move on to boots. I guess I'll start this time with, I brought two boots in. I have two different boots that I will be running this season. One's brand new, and then this is a Salomon boot. It's kind of on the lighter weight side. And these are, you have to be careful with lightweight boots because one of the ways that companies save weight is by using a lower cuff. And so you don't have as much boot to push against when you're skiing. And for me, I'm not, again, reiterating I'm not a great skier. Like I like having that support in the front because it really like, it helps with your skiing. It's definitely beneficial, and like, I don't have to be as good of a skier if I have more support. But I really like this boot because it has a ton of range of motion when it's in its walk mode. This one has this kind of a fancy mechanism which allows the cup to move this way as well. I don't really know that that provides much benefit, and it makes the kind of mechanism more complicated, which worries me. But I really do appreciate how much range of motion this has. I mean, I've run the Corporate Cup 5K in this boot without any problem, So it was
Yeah. Very nice.
I really, and then last year I did for the Catamount, our backcountry challenge, I did 20,000 feet, and I did it in this boot and didn't have any foot problems. So that's part of that's boot fit, but this has been a really enjoyable boot. And I would say I ski this boot probably 80% of the time, and I'll ski this boot with both pairs of skis. So the other boot I have is a new boot this year. This is the La Sportiva Spectre, and I had the original version of this boot, and I picked it up again this year because I really enjoyed that first version, and the boot I had previous to this didn't really fit my foot. So this was kind of going back to what I know. But again, this is a slightly taller boot, so it's going to provide a little bit more support and performance in kind of challenging snow conditions or skiing with a bigger ski. It's still pretty light and still has a lot of range of motion in the cup, and so it tours really well. One of the other things I like about this I know a lot of people complain about how fiddly these buckles are, but I kind of really like them. If you do kind of have to get in here with like a screwdriver and get the clasps kind of dialed in just right. But once they're dialed in, the nice thing about them is they hold on to the buckle, so you can just open them up and tour, and then when you get to the top, you just close them, and you don't really have to fiddle with them that much. And I really appreciate kind of that simplicity and that quickness to the boot. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, boots are such a personal thing. One of the things I've noticed coming from, like a really entry level touring boot, and then the boot I had last year, which didn't have a huge range of motion, was how much I appreciate a boot with a lot of range of motion. Like it really makes a big difference in the comfort, the performance going uphill. Like you don't have to use your heel risers as soon. You can kind of you can stride out more. I feel like it's just more efficient. And then making sure you just get a good boot fit is really important to just being happy, like good performance and just like having a good time. I do think fitting an AT boot or something like that is a little bit trickier, just because you're, in a regular downhill boot, you're kind of in a relatively static stance, kind of like pressuring the front of the boot. But in an AT boot, you're in a much more dynamic where you're striding out, you're having to ski. And so when you stride out, your foot's moving around a lot more in here. So like the typical boot fit where you have, your toes are crunched, and then when you're like leaning into the ski and it feels good, like that may or may not work for you in a touring boot, because so you have to be a little bit more room in a touring boot, I think, is generally a good thing. So it definitely makes it a little bit trickier, but you want to fit it like a snug fitting hiking boot, versus like your like foot vice, race boot. Anyway, Josh, you want to go?
Sure. Yeah. So I got this to complete the Ferrari red setup here. This is the Scarpa F1. It's same idea that Greg was talking about, a real big range of motion, 60 degrees on this. And this one has the tech inserts for the tech binding, but there's no bill to it. So this actually won't even fit in an Alpine binding. Just making that stride like even more natural. There's nothing in the way there to hold you up from sliding uphill. It's kind of an odd boot. It's just 2 buckles up top and a BOA system. The BOA kind of acts as like 2 buckles as they kind of separate the cable here. But it definitely can say I ski this boot with the 88s, but I also ski it with a 115 underfoot ski. And so definitely you can actually really push these pretty hard, even though, it's not a 4 buckle boot per se. but still gives you a nice plush Intuition liner that everyone loves, keeping those feet nice and comfy and nice and heat moldable. But yeah, I definitely, like Greg was saying, fit this boot closer to like I would a nice hiking boot. Just want to be real comfortable all day. And then you can really just kind of hammer down on the buckles and the bow to get a nice tight fit for skiing. The one last thing is the Vibram Sole. When you're out and you're going to do some boot packing or anything, or, you know, Northeast conditions, spring skiing, sometimes you end up walking on rocks and all. Having something that's not going to slide around and you can really kind of maneuver your way through some terrain is great to have when backcountry touring.
Awesome. And I will say, like, people always ask if I destroy my soles when I've run the I've now run the Corporate Cup 5K 3 times in ski boots, and they've never really seen any unnecessary wear on the boots.
Oh, man.
My knees and my hips, yes, but
yeah. You sound like a telemark skier, dude.
Yeah, not the boots.
Yeah.
Kenzie, you want to share, what are you using?
So I am upgrading to the new generation of the Zero G Scout from Technica. I had the first gen of this guy, which was stellar and probably my favorite boot that I've ever owned. But it's definitely more on the traditional side of the Alpine touring spectrum, in that it's a true 4-buckle boot. And it doesn't have quite as aggressive of a walk mode to it. So compared to like the F1s or the X Alps, this is 55 degrees of range of motion. But I encounter what a lot of lady skiers encounter, which is trying to find a boot that is actually stiff enough for my skiing style, which by no means am I a super aggressive skier, but I'm a very flexible person. And with that, generally more flexible people need stiffer boots. So this is one of the few boots out there that's a 115 flex for ladies that actually flexes pretty true to that. So I am so stoked on this guy. I have been dreaming about getting a new Zero G for the last 2 years, and I finally clapped my old ones out last year. And the thing that Josh was saying about the toe bail, this is something super important for people to know. There are different compatibilities that a lot of bindings and boots will not work with. And that includes that toe bail right here, and also the ISO certification on the bottom of your boot, which this one technically does not have one. So if you're looking for new boots and new binding combos, always look into what you might pair together, because they might not work. So this guy technically will not work with an Alpine binding. No tech can say that it will, but it will work with a lot of other types of bindings out there. Whereas, you know, you might be able to get something like a K2 Mindbender or a Scarpa Mistrali, and that'll work with Alpine bindings if you get the right ones.
Thank you. And then before we jump into the telemark boot, someone was asking why AT when you can telly?
Oh God, that's a great question.
Well, Tristan, you answer this. Like, I know the answer for myself, and I don't telly because I'm not that good of a skier, and I need all the help I can get. And AT is my crutch.
Yeah. Maneuverability and comfort. Maneuverability and comfort, right? So, hold on, these are a little dusty. I'm skiing the Garmont Voodoo, which is now Scott. They still make these, right? I'm pretty sure they still make this. So this boot was really cool when it first came out years and years and years ago, because it was the first 3-buckle boot that actually skied like a 4-buckle boot, but it's nice and light, right? So when you're talking about touring, you know, gear can get kind of heavy. I definitely notice when I'm skiing my Verdicts, things are kind of heavy, and I'm kind of like, man, what, I bring these skis? So having a light boot and a light ski is really nice for going up. I like to go up, like Greg. I really sometimes actually have more fun going up than I have going down, depending on the ski conditions. So this boot was great. 3-buckle, skis more like a 4-buckle, has a great overlap cuff, full moldable liner. What else? There's 3 different kinds of P-backs in this bellows, so it gives a nice progressive flex. One thing I will say is that when I'm selling a ski or like a ski package, I really think the most important part of any setup is the boot. I think a lot of people come in and they're like, they really want to get into a Scarpa boot. And then, you show them the Garmont or whatever, and they're not really into it. But I think folks should try on a lot of boots, because I really would love to ski a Scarpa boot, but for whatever reason, Garmont, my foot just fits in the Garmont boot really well. So when I'm going up Nebraska Valley all day long, it's really nice to be in a boot that fits, versus that boot your buddy really loves and you really want to get your foot into it, but it's no bueno. So this is a really comfortable boot for me. I have a really high arch, so that six toe, there's a lot of room in there for that six toe if you got one of those going on. It has a tour mode here, so great cuff for great tourability. I don't know how much flex is in there. It's Telemark, who cares? It flexes back and forth. It gets you up really nice and comfortable. And then what's really cool about these buckles is that you can actually flick these buckles and they won't let go, right? So when you're going up, you can have these set up, and then when you get to the top, you just flick them and you can hammer that boot down and get to it. So that's kind of a cool feature as far as getting that cuff to articulate and get you up. But yeah, why telemark skiing? I think maneuverability and comfort. I think that's what it used to be. And then everyone was like, well, AT's so comfortable and so anyways, AT gear is super cool. Telemark gear is too. But telemark, learning a telemark turn, you give clinics. Catamount Trail gives clinics on it all the time. It's not the most intuitive thing. Like when you hit the top of a lift and you go to drop a knee, it's not really intuitive, or at least it wasn't for me. So I had to work really hard at it, and I got to get a bunch of days underneath me before I feel like, I can drop a knee. A lot of people don't drop a knee. You can telly and not drop a knee, people, or you can just AT ski. But this is a really great boot if you want a really solid, powerful boot and you want to get around in the backcountry and have a lot of fun. And I like it a lot. I put this, I paired this up with the Vector, and I pretty much go anywhere. So yeah. So I love this boot. It's a great fit.
So 2 quick questions for everybody. Like when you are in tour mode, how do you adjust your buckles? Like some people open up everything and then go from there, and some people leave some buckles tight and some buckles loose. And do you guys have a preference or recommendations for any of those?
I'm a little bit of a masochist, I guess. I just put it in walk mode, go.
No buckle adjustment. No, you don't mess with the power strap or anything.
No, just keep it nice and snug. I mean, it's like lacing up your hiking boot, once that's laced, you're good to go. So just as long as that walk mode's open, go for it.
I do not live that way. I definitely unbuckle my top 2 buckles and loosen that power strap for days. But I always keep my bottom 2 buckles buckled over the foot because I really want my heel to stay in that pocket really nicely. But the walk mode improves so much when you undo those top 2 buckles on the boots that I've always had.
Yeah, I would agree. I'm with you, Kenzie. I leave the 2 buckles in the bottom buckles done because I want my foot held in place. I don't want my foot to move around. And then I loosen the upper buckles and the power strap just to give you, just to give you as much range of motion as possible. And again, I feel like range of motion, the more range of motion you can have and the less resistance you can have, the better, the more efficient your touring is going to be. It's just going to be more comfortable generally. However, I do feel like I worry that if I loosen those bottom buckles, my foot's going to start to slop around, and then, and I'm going to get, a blister or something, which, was kind of the worst thing. I feel like that's one of the worst things when you're out touring is any kind of like foot blistering or foot problems. Really, it's cold out. You really don't want to like stop and have to take care of that. And so if you can just avoid it and from the get-go, it's kind of the way to go.
The interesting thing, I've been boot fitting for 10 plus years. And one of the things that people always say is the 2 bottom buckles are not really that useful. So I always keep them buckled because I'm just terrified of getting blisters, like Greg said, but you can have them super loose if it's a proper fitting boot. and not encounter any fit issues on the way up. So if it fits you right, you can undo as many buckles as you want. It should not matter.
Great. And last, insoles. Do you guys all run insoles in your? It seems like that's a really common boot upgrade for any skier. What are you guys' feelings on insoles?
I have super feet in all my boots. Yeah, if I don't ski, if I don't have an insole, I can't get that fit. I mean, granted, I don't go and spend a lot of money. I'm a telemark skier, so I go and buy a $40. How much for feet now? $60 for $50? What's that?
$50.
Yeah, $50. So they're in all my boots, and I'm able to take up a little bit of volume, cup that heel, and keep that boot. Like you said, if your foot starts sliding around and you get a blister on a powder day, your friends are probably just going to leave you there and fend for yourself. So I have super feet in all my boots. That's what I do.
Josh, it seems like you don't care.
Oh, I 100% agree that if you love them, go for it. You should have them in there, switch them between all your boots. I've been lucky enough to have the perfect sample size foot where I can slip it into any boot and it works. So yeah, just lucky enough to not have to.
Totally. You're a fan.
I'm a huge fan. I'm also spoiled because I work at a shop, so I have custom insoles in all of my boots.
Yeah.
So what people pay like $250 for, I have in my boots because I made them. So I would probably go for some super feet if I was, your everyday shopper.
Enlighten us a little bit about why like super feet on like the low end or a custom insole might be beneficial to especially somebody that's looking into touring.
So the whole point of a footbed is stabilizing your foot in the most neutral position possible. We don't want any movement at all, and it especially supports your arch and heel back into that heel pocket. Depending on your actual arch, a super feet might be awesome. Like there's different heights of arches that you can get, like the greens, the blues. There's the carbons that take up like no room. So like at a price point, they're great. But if your feet are very different, or else if you have like that big fifth toe splay, or for me, I have screws in my feet in that fifth toe area that really needs a little bit of extra support. My footbeds are made specifically to my weird feet, and it keeps them in the perfect neutral position for them with the exact cant of posting, which is right underneath that heel cup, how your foot should be for, how your bones are aligned. So if you're looking for an exact fit to have your foot in the best neutral position, that's where a custom footbed comes into play. But otherwise, like 90% of people are great with like a super feet or like a out of the box boot dot fit. It's that I've been spoiled and have unfortunately been tainted.
Yeah, and I kind of go either way. I have used super feet in the past, and then I haven't, and like I don't necessarily know that there's a benefit. For me personally, I have found with a boot that was a little bit too tight that the super feet helped buy me a little bit of extra room because it helped kind of supported my arch and kept my foot from splaying out a little bit. So like when I was using it, I got a little less like toe bump and stuff with touring, which was kind of nice. Yeah, I think it depends. Again, it's just part of the fit process, right? You want the boot to fit as well as it can, and custom insoles or super feet are just one aspect of making sure that boot fits the best way possible. So, all right, let's get on to the other probably important piece of gear that we're going to talk about tonight, and that's going to be skins. Let's see, Kenzie, how about you start us off with skins?
This is so I've used whatever skins I can get my hands on for so many years, which have ranged from like G3's terrible iteration where the glue was awful to your Black Diamond Ascension full nylon skins, to a skin this year that I'm really stoked on, which is a G3 Minimus Skin. So in general, because I'm doing a decent amount of just straight ups to come down and also some long tours in, I'm either looking for a full nylon skin with that grip or else a mohair nylon mixture. The skin that I'm stoked on is super awesome because it is 70% mohair, 30% nylon, and insanely lightweight. So it packs down to like nothing in your pack. And it also has a piece of carbon that makes it essentially flat to where the tip is. So you're not going to get any snow stuck under there. So that's kind of what I've been rocking for years. Skins is where I've kind of, let the ball go, and haven't had the best skins, but hey, live and learn.
Totally. Awesome. Tristan, what are you, when you're not sporting your waxless skis, what are you doing?
Hey, who needs skins? You guys, oh man. Yeah. So I've had the same pair of BD Ascensions skins for a while, but I've also had G3s where I had terrible glue issues. But when it comes down to skins, it's about grip, glue, and ease of use, right? So grip, as in how much traction you get going up, right? I've had people on, I hate to say it, like G3 skins where they're going up and they hit a steep pitch, and next thing you know, they start sliding backwards. And BD Ascensions, by far, I found have best grip. I've gone up stuff where other people start sliding backwards, and next thing you know, they're traversing up the face. So I find they have great grip. They have great glue. I have totally trashed my skins and only had to re-glue them once. And I'm not like, I got dog hair, I got pine needles, I have everything in the glue, and that glue still sticks to that ski. And then the ease of use, having that tip, so that has an adjustable where you can actually buy different size, I'm gonna call them wires, so you can adjust the tip width. So if I'm on my Vertix, I can slide off the top and adjust that wire to fit a wider tip. And then when I'm on my Vectors, I can actually slide off this cuff and minimize the wire to go on a smaller tip ski. So I find the BDs, as long as the skins aren't fatter than the ski you're putting them on, because you still want that metal edge for traction, I find that my Ascensions will actually go on almost all my skis, mid-fat to fat. And they hit all those things: grip, glue, and ease of use. And I can take them off without taking my boot out of my binding, which is really cool. Some people think that's hokey, but I do like to get to the top, flick that tail off, and then whip them off. And then I've got my skins in my jacket already, keeping them warm for the next lap, while other people are taking their boots off and then they're sinking in 2 feet. So I find the Ascensions, out of all the skins I've tried, had been my most favorite, and I still have them. And they're probably ready for another glue to be retreated, but that's my number one pick is BD Ascensions for sure. Yeah.
And Josh, do you have skin tips or preferences?
Yeah, I mean, similarly, I've gone through the whole gamut of different brands and all, just trying to find the right one. And I've totally landed on Pomokas now. This pair is the Pro Climb 2.0. So theirs is proprietary, but it's a mohair mix. So it gives you a nice glide. I kind of like a little bit of glide with my stride. If it gets too steep where you really, feel like you're going to slide back, throw in a kick turn. But so I kind of want to get that little bit of slide with every one of my steps to be just a little bit more efficient. And this skin has been phenomenal for doing that. Like Kenzie was saying, packability is pretty big. If you got a quick dawn patrol and you're just going to stuff them in your jacket shell or something, that's great. They don't really even have to bring a pack sometimes. But yeah, they kind of roll up into small, tight little bundle if you want them to. Real ease of use. The glue, like Tristan was talking about on those BDs, the Pomokas is pretty similar. When you're trying to rip those apart, you don't need your ski belt holding the other side to do the big yank and the comic reel there. They just come right apart and they come right off your ski without leaving any residue. Right. And then finally, so I moonlight my skiing as an environmental scientist. And Pomoka has stated that they are pretty much 100% fluorocarbon free with all their glide and waterproofing on there. Other brands have stated that they've restricted one of the fluorocarbons, but there's like thousands of these compounds. So, just that little extra bonus being environmentally friendly on top of a fantastic product goes a long way for me.
Awesome.
So, yeah.
Yeah, and I would say I'm in the same boat as you. I have had black diamond skins and G3s. I had a pair of G3 skins that like same thing. The glue, they were always really hard to pull apart, and the glue kind of balled up. That said, they lasted forever. I mean, I sold them to somebody and like they were still going strong. So, I mean, they worked. They were just but again, the like ease of use, I didn't think they like, they weren't high in the ease of use category. I've had black diamond skins. I've too have settled on some Pomoka skins. And yeah, they're just, I don't know. I like the way they work. I've really liked black diamond skins that I've had in the past. I think, the cheaper skins, like the pure nylon skins, a lot of people go with those because for price, but they are bulky and like you were saying, like they grip really well, but they don't glide. I mean, so they're really durable. At the same time, I feel that a lot of people kind of like weigh that a little bit more heavily than they should, like some of the handling characteristics that you get from a mixed skin or something else. And the cost isn't that much better, but I do find like a mohair mix like more efficient. It's more packable. So when you're stuffing it in your jacket or in your pack, it just takes up less space. I don't know. I just think like, and the mixed skins will still last you. Like, I mean, that pair of G3s I had was a mohair mix and it went for 7 seasons, I mean, and I get out on my skis regularly. So, and so they're plenty durable. I mean, so I don't know. I think, I definitely like, there's a ton of skins out there, but like for me, a mohair mix skin, from any of the brands is probably good. I'm on Pomokas this year just because, again, wanted to try something different, and I don't know. It's kind of where I settled. What about? Do you guys all have tip loops? I mean, I know Josh, you probably have. Like on one of my pairs of skis, they go on they have like the skins that I have for this set of skis here. Like neither of them have tail clips. They just kind of notch in at the tip here, and then they go on. And after using this setup, I really don't know if tail loops are really all that necessary anymore. I feel like last year it was kind of like spring conditions when I did that kind of backcountry challenge, and I did 22 laps at Bolton, and I did it on one pair of skins, and didn't have it with no tail clips. So I think certain conditions can, but if you're like careful and like don't get your skins contaminated, keep them warm in your jacket. Like there's really, like you can do it. It is possible. You can do it.
Volet strap when the glue fails.
Yeah.
Volet there, or heli straps, whatever you want to call them.
Yep.
When I do see at our Skimo races, we do see a lot of skin failures on the race skins when it gets super cold. The glue just freezes up, and they get contaminated with a little bit of snow on like those like -20 blowing nights.
Yep.
Yeah.
Anymore. But again, you guys are doing, when those people are racing, they're you guys are getting in 7, 8, 9 transitions, and so that's a lot of transitions for the skins to bear. So anyway, all right, cool. Let's see. What about, I was going to mention something about technique. You guys were talking about grip on some of the skins, and how much do you think that, how important is it to have good grip or good skinning technique? Because I've definitely seen a lot of like our Skimo racers get up some pretty gnarly, steep, icy slopes on skinny skis with like straight race skins that don't provide a lot of grip. And oftentimes it's because, I would attribute it to them having really good skinning technique versus, oftentimes you see people sliding back on some stuff, and oftentimes they're newer backcountry skiers and they're not properly weighting their skis.
Mm-hmm.
I personally haven't found, I feel like with good technique, my skinny skins on my skinny skis get me up the same stuff that my big fat skins do on my fat skis. Thoughts on this, you guys?
Yeah, I mean,
I think
go for it, Tristan.
Oh no, I was gonna say I think people count out pole being a telemark skier, pole playing, using your poles as part of your technique. I think climbing, a lot of people don't think about where they place their poles in relation to where they are on the slope. So like Greg and I said, I like climbing a lot. So I found out really quickly that the better technique I could have, the more have, and I would get up the slope quicker, or I'd have more energy. I've skinned with people where, I look over my shoulder and people are like sweating and they're like, they're shedding layers because they're working so hard. But if people work on technique and they use those poles and they know where to put them and able to weight their skis and also use their upper body, I find that it can make backcountry skiing way more enjoyable, because I find a lot of people they're so exhausted after 2 or 3 laps that then, what happens, you start to get sloppy in the down. So I think technique is huge. I think a lot of people, it's all about the down, but I think it also has a lot to do with the up and technique and how to use your skins, how to use your poles, where to put them, when not to try to go up a slope, when maybe you're going to have to sidestep. Or being a telemark skier, doing rolling backcountry skiing, like having a herringbone. I don't see a lot of people herringbone, to be honest. And when you're on a waxless ski and you have no skins and you're doing the Camel's Hump Challenge and you're doing like 14 miles, you better know how to herringbone because otherwise you're gonna get really tired and you're gonna get sloppy. So anyways, that's my take on it. Is technique. Good technique is good to have for sure going up.
Yeah, I mean, I think technique is pretty much everything when it comes to skiing. If you don't know where to place your foot on your ski when you are going up something steep, if you don't know at what angle you are no longer comfortable going straight up, you need the kick turn. Like Tristan was saying, if you don't know how to use your poles properly, you're kind of screwed. So people that are entering into backcountry that don't know any of this, I almost always tell them to go with a full nylon skin, because it's kind of that little fail safe of they're going to get better grip than they would on anything else because they don't know any better yet.
Or should they get a mohair mix and then they'll know they've got good technique when they're not slipping?
Ooh, that's a good question. Oh man.
You can look at it as a training device.
Yeah.
You could look at it as a training device, or else you could look at it as a bigger hurdle to get over in order to enjoy the sport.
Cool. All right. So technique matters, and that may play a factor in what you buy.
Mm-hmm.
So poles, I put poles on our list. I don't really know if we need to talk about poles. You guys have
let's talk pole. No, I'm just
let's talk poles.
No,
So, I guess the biggest thing
I
is
got 8 pairs of poles.
But like fixed poles or adjustable poles, or doesn't matter. Do you need, if you're already an alpine skier and you're coming into backcountry skiing, do you need to get a new set of poles? No.
Stick with them.
Yeah. Just use what you've got, right?
Yeah.
Wrap a heli strap around it. You're good to go.
Heli strap and duct tape. That's all you need.
Yeah.
On.
Yeah, there you go. Enough said. We're done with poles.
Yeah. So generally poles don't matter. Run what you got. If you have the opportunity to buy poles, like an adjustable pole.
Yeah. I mean, I love adjustable poles. I come from a Nordic background where it's like a whole bunch of upper body. So I love being able to take advantage of that and actually being able to extend my poles. But that's just my personal preference of where I come from with background. Your everyday skier could probably be totally fine and content with a fixed length.
Right.
And I
think the addition of a touring basket too, just having that little bit of angle forward on your pole instead of having that fire back at you, that little bit every pole plant, it'll save your insanity.
Yeah.
Yeah, baskets make a big difference.
Yeah.
I powder baskets on mine, but
Yeah, traverses, right? So those are traverses, looks like.
yeah, they're just aluminum adjustable pole. I've used them for, use them for down inbounds, like I don't know.
Yeah.
They're indestructible.
Yeah, you bend a section, it's $11 or probably $15-$20 now to like fix it at the shop. They're super.
And the thing is, like, it is nice if you have a long skin in someplace or like skiing, it is nice to have a little bit of a longer pole. And if you have a slippery skin where you get, or like a waxless ski, you can actually get some good glide out of them.
Yeah.
And so having that like longer pole gives you a little bit of a longer pole motion, which just really saves you some energy on that. Like if you have a long skin or skin out, which you know, I feel like in the Adirondacks, there's some pretty long, like skin ends that are relatively flat. And like, if you're going to put like 10 or 15 miles on your skis, like you want to be making sure every little bit of energy is going into forward motion. So,
Absolutely.
but generally just run what you got and, you know, go from there.
I think the one piece that I would add to that is knowing how to use the strap on your pole. Because otherwise your hands are going to cramp and fatigue and you're going to be unhappy. So make sure that you are going through from the bottom and up around it if you're going to use the pole. And if not, you can get some fancy like Lecky or big straps that hold on to your whole hand and you don't have to do anything. It's using all your lats and that's all.
Yeah, so straps or no straps? Do people run?
Oh, straps, yeah. They have to be comfortable, you know. There's something to be said for a strap that, you know, oftentimes I will skin up without a glove on. So my strap should be comfortable so that it's not digging in. And then the amount of strap you have. So when you're climbing and you have that strap and you're pushing back, having that strap adjusted correctly so that it's nice and not super snug, but it's allowing you to push and plant and hold that pole there. That's also like adjust, you know, making your pole fit your wrist and being adjusted correctly is also huge. And I think that's something you acquire down the line. I think if you're a beginner, you're going to be like, whatever, it's a pole, you know, but as you get out in the backcountry, you fall down, you get back up, you ski with your buddies, then stuff like that becomes really important and you learn from other people. But yeah, absolutely important. Yeah.
Nice.
For sure.
So straps definitely on the way up. What about on the way down? No straps.
Like straps on the way down. I'm okay with losing my pole a little bit and having to skin back up and get it.
Side step back up and get it. Yeah.
And that's because, and oftentimes, like in the reasoning is because if your pole gets caught on anything when you're going down, you don't want it to like yank your arm out.
Yeah.
Which I've done before. It sucks when your arm just gets like ripped behind you. Yeah, for sure.
I mean, I find sometimes I get whipped off my feet when my pole gets caught, even without straps, because I just don't want to let go.
Yeah.
And so I think like, yeah, if I couldn't let go at all, it would be really bad. Okay, great. Okay, moving on. Let's see. Let's go. What's helmet? You guys all wear helmets backcountry skiing?
Yes.
Yep.
All right. And what?
On the downhill.
Only in the downhill.
Yeah, on the down.
Yeah, I agree with that. Yeah.
I'll kick this one off. So like for the helmet I'm using is actually a climbing helmet from Black Diamond. It's a really lightweight, almost like a bike helmet. And so I'll wear this over like a buff or like a really lightweight hat or like a hat and like a baseball cap. And the reason I like this helmet is because I put it on at the car. It's so light and like breathable. Like I put it on at the car and I take it off when I get back to the car. Like I'm not worrying about putting it in my pack or dangling from my pack or skinning up and putting it on, taking it off. I just put it on and it's not so hot that I feel like I need to take it off. And so I've gone with this for backcountry skiing because whether wearing or not wearing a helmet has become a non-issue for me. I just wear it all the time, and I carry it in the best place possible, which is on my head. And so I don't know if this is as safe as like a full-on ski helmet, probably not, but you know, generally I feel like this is going to be, it's going to do what it needs to do. And I'm not hucking cliffs or doing anything like that. So this seems more than adequate for the type of skiing I do. I just like it because I just don't, again, there's no question about whether or not I bring a helmet with me or wear it. I just always do. And I just don't have to think about it. Anybody else? Helmets? So Josh, you wear it on the way down. What do you do with it on the way up?
So I carry mine in my pack on the way up. I have a Pret Cynic. And so this is still on the lighter weight of all the helmets out there. I removed the ear straps so I kind of be able to get that breathability. This does have vents on the top and front. So I can wear it if I am going for an extra lap or something. It does still kind of breathe a little less efficient as yours does, but it still is able to get that extra lap in if I wanted to. But I just kind of looked at it. I think it's the MIPS certification, which kind of gives that multiple directional protection, is what I was looking for in my helmet. I've had a couple knockouts in my past, so I don't want to go through that ever again. So I kind of wear a little bit beefier helmet just to be a little more safe. But I do store it in the pack most of the time on the uphills, throw it on top of whatever hat I'm wearing, and just go.
And that MIPS that MIPS certification is like for the glancing blows. So like if you're moving fast and like your helmet catches the edge, it like rotates this way, right? It has the internal shell which breaks free and allows it to like transfer less shock to like your neck and brain.
Correct.
Yeah, so I think if you ski fast and in terrain where you might go down, then yeah, like there's the helmet technology out there right now is you might look at something like that to kind of like really minimize. So it can tuck if you're headed over to tucks, you know what I mean, and you're going to be like throwing down in one of the gullies, you might want a potential helmet in case something goes wrong.
Right.
Totally. So Kenzie, your helmet situation?
Oh God, I am in the same boat as Josh, except mine is even burlier. So I rock the Smith Mission helmet that's also MIPS, and it's really just your traditional like Alpine resort helmet that has some venting on it. But the reason is because one, I'm cheap, and I still want to be safe no matter what I'm doing. And two, I get ungodly cold as soon as I stop moving. And part of that is my ears. My ears get so cold. So as soon as I get to the top, I'm putting on my helmet. I keep it on my pack at all times otherwise. But it's what I have, what keeps me warm, and what especially keeps me safe.
Awesome. And Tristan, do you just extra hat or you
telemarkers don't wear helmets. Boots don't even come out of our bindings, man. Come on. No, I want to date myself here. This is way too old. This is Smith Mays helmet, which I really like purely because it's super light. So I had been wearing I had a couple of Giro helmets, a couple other Smith helmets, but when this came out, I was super drawn to it because I don't wear it on the way up. I put it on my pack in a helmet bra, and then I put it on as soon as I get up. So light you could walk into a bar with it because you forget you're wearing it, which I've been accused of doing many, many times. But super light, no vents, so maybe not the most ventilated helmet. Kind of looks like a cannonball, but super. It does its job. If you go down, you hit your head, you hit a tree or something, or you glance a tree, it does the job. I think it's probably time to get a new one. But I like a light helmet, minimalist helmet. So yeah, that's what I wear.
I think one of the takeaways here is everybody wears a helmet backcountry skiing.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
absolutely.
A situation where you go without a helmet.
Yeah, you don't feel right. I don't feel right, at least not wearing a helmet. I feel kind of weird.
I totally feel naked wearing a helmet.
Yeah.
If I show up and I don't forget my helmet, but if I were to like go skiing without a helmet, it feels really strange.
I think I've forgotten my helmet once, and I ended up taking my touring setup around the Nordic trails at Bolton instead. Yeah, right. I just don't feel like I can ski or that I should ski the lines that I want to if I don't have that safety equipment.
Yeah, agreed.
Awesome. So we're going to do, I've got goggles and packs on our list to talk about. Is there anything, so eye covering, do you guys have any preferred eye covering in the goggles? Do you wear eye covering, some sort of eye protection?
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Let's see. Tristan, let's go with you.
Oh man. So I think this is a Smith scope, I believe. And super simple. There's not much to say about this. It's just got a persimmon lens, and basically the reason I wear these is that when you're skiing in the backcountry, there's nothing worse than something schwacking you in the side of the eye and whacking you in the face. So if you're wearing these, I mean, even if you're doing like Bolton the traps, and there's like one section where it's so narrow and tight I sometimes put these on because I know I'm just going to get whacked in the face. And actually, was it 2 years ago? The snowpack was so high that the trail was actually like up in the trees. And, you know, just putting something on and protecting your eyes, because if you get hit in the face, especially for someone like me, it's not good. So super cheap, like 50, 60 bucks, I think. And some other Oakley goggles wear for lift serve that have more of a spherical lens. But I think this is what for backcountry skiing, just a Smith scope goggles, what I use most of the time. So I'm a telemark skier.
Kenzie, do you have what are you sporting these days?
Well, I sport two different things. On the way up, I wear the same transition sunglasses that I wear mountain biking. So I rock some Julbo's Aerolights that are transition from pretty low light, which is a 1, to a 3, which is a pretty high light. I really don't like the wind biting at my eyes, no matter if I'm going down or up. So that adds some protection. And then I switch out those sunglasses at the top for some other transition Julbo goggles that actually have a little bit of ventilation. So the actual lens comes out a little bit and you get a lot of airflow if it's a really warm day outside. But I think you have them right there. Yeah. So I rock the same exact thing. They're awesome. And I love that it transitions between different types of light, because we all know, like the backcountry, we don't know if it's going to be bright, if it's going to be dark, if the trees are going to be really overshadowing. So I want to get to see every single shark that I'm going to hit in the snow before I hit it.
Totally. And Josh, how about you?
I'm in a pretty similar boat as Tristan. You know, you're in the woods most of the time, you catch limbs, you scratch those lenses. There's nothing worse than an expensive pair of goggles with just a free break across them. So, you know, I go for a real economical pair. You know, some of these, you know, this is Ashbury. They actually, for, you know, like 60, 70 bucks, they give you 2 lenses too. So something like that, keeping it cheap. You know, I've gone through, gosh, like 5 or 6 lenses in a few years just because they're just scratched to heck. Maybe that says how good of a skier I am, actually.
You're just an adventurous.
Yeah, you're just exploring different terrain.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Yeah, I mean, I guess I kind of am in the same boat as Kenzie. I usually, a lot of days I'll just wear sunglasses. You know, I feel like glasses things fog up really quickly for me. So oftentimes on the uphill, I won't have anything covering my eyes unless it's like really windy. Oftentimes I wear a hat under my helmet, and I feel like that brim of the hat helps cut the wind. And so that provides me with a little bit of like wind protection that I'm looking for. And then on the downhill, I'll just throw the glasses on, depending on where I'm at. But yeah, no, true backcountry, yeah, goggles are the way to go. I've got a pair of these Aerospace goggles. I'm kind of with Tristan and Josh on this. I probably wouldn't have expensive goggles, but being at the CTA, these were gifted to me, so they're pretty nice.
Yeah.
I've never used I think they're cool because you can see like the lens pops out from the frame there. And I think the idea is that that keeps them from fogging up if you're going to wear them like on an uphill, if it's like storming out. But I've never really used it for backcountry skiing. I've wore these once at one of the corporate cups, and they didn't fog, so that was pretty good.
Whoa.
It does work.
It does. I've skied. I've used them at the resort with the ventilation open.
Yeah. I would say one of the things that I really like about, I mean, these are all Julbo products, but one of the things I like about them are they're the transition lenses, and they're like the light to like the mid dark. And what I like about them is that they really cover the whole range. Like I can go night skiing in these with a headlamp, and then on a bright day, they're plenty dark enough for like the bluest bird day we're ever going to see here. So, I mean, I kind of appreciate the fact that they're just always have the right lens. Though they are kind of, you know, the goggles are kind of expensive for that. So, but yeah, so everybody wears goggles. Main reason is to protect your eyes. And, you know, and it seems like it's not, you know, spending a lot of money on goggles, maybe not necessarily the best thing if you're going to trash them, which seems to be more likely backcountry skiing just because of the terrain that you're in. So cool. All right, and so now we're on to packs. How do you guys feel about packs? I might kick this one off. I have 2 packs because I have an actual backcountry. I actually have a dedicated backcountry ski pack from Black Diamond, and this it's 35 liters. I think, yeah, 35 liters. It has space for like Avi gear. So if you're in Avi terrain, like in the White Mountains or over in the Adirondacks, I have space to carry that stuff. There's room for there's room for way more stuff than I usually carry in this. And so oftentimes I don't actually use this pack a lot in Vermont just because there's too much room. And most of the time I'm going out again is like, it's a quick lap before work or something like that. And I just don't need this much stuff. And so the other pack that I use a lot is just this like cheapo REI pack. It's just a small, it's nothing special. It's just a backpack. It goes on your back and it holds stuff. And I can throw an extra layer in here. I can throw my skins in here. I can drop a thermos in here with some hot chocolate or something like that. But I feel like, it doesn't have any kind of fancy ski carry, mostly because most of the skiing around this area doesn't require you to strap your skis on your back and do a boot pack. So it's not really necessary. So I feel like, this is the pack I usually grab just because it's the right size. It's 18 liters versus 35 liters. And I just don't need all the extra functionality. What are you guys sporting? Josh, go for it.
Sure. So I got a pretty similar, I don't need to show you, but a pretty similar bag to your kind of main backcountry skiing one. It's got a lot of capacity. Throw, extra layers, the shell in there, your Avi gear, which is going to be really accessible if you do enter some avalanche terrain. Mine's got a little quick access to crampons, which is kind of nice if you do get into some steeper situations. But yeah, that's kind of just my everyday kind of like weekend one. Spending a lot of time, got a lot of capacity to fit in all the snacks you need. You gotta have those hot food on your tour. But when I'm feeling really Euro, I got the Skimo Bag here. This is the Ultimate Direction Skimo Bag. It's about 15 liters. You can have your food and water accessible up front. The bag doesn't have to come off. But it has that ski carry here. This is kind of the biggest thing is, like Greg was saying, we might not have too much of that terrain around us, but being able to, if you want to do a couple laps in some steep chute or something that you have to boot back up, not having to take your pack off and throw the skis on the back real quick. It's got these loops in the back and it just goes over your shoulder real quick. Nice and convenient and easily accessible without taking the bag off again. Is you got crampon access, or you could throw your skins in there. Yeah, just when you want to look real speedy out there, combine this with a nice Lycra suit. Yeah, you'll be an image out there.
Yeah, and I didn't mean to insinuate that we don't have like skiing that requires boot packing. There are quite a few of those areas around here. I personally don't frequent those, but it's something to consider. Yeah, I mean, like you're saying, like quick access to crampons, the ability to stash skis. Those are kind of the things that make a ski pack, right? And so, yeah. Kenzie, what are you running these days?
I'm pretty similar to you, Greg. I have for my main pack a Black Diamond 32 liter Dawn Patrol pack, which I absolutely love. It can fit all of my Avi gear in it. It can fit all of the layers that I always overpack with because I'm very terrified I'm going to be cold. And all the water that I would need. It's awesome for like super long days up in the Chick Chocks to like going out the back door and going out for an hour. But I also do every now and then use like my hip belt that I use for mountain biking, my little Evoc like 6 liter pack to just put an extra layer in, put some gloves. I have my bladder in there and I just strap my helmet on there and then I'm good to go. So it's just depending on what kind of terrain I'm going to do. But the main thing is I always have water, always have an extra layer, pair of gloves, and snacks. I'm always packing snacks.
All about the snacks.
Mm-hmm. I mean, that's the way we ski, right? So we can eat more.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah. Drink more beer.
Tristan, what have you got going?
I have man, my gear is so not outdated. But I think I have an Osprey Code 30, which I think they still make, right? They still make that? Yeah. And I don't have a small Skimo spandex pack. I always take my Code because I usually take my camera. I kind of have a big camera that I like to take with me. I need to carry snacks, an extra layer, socks, all my, I have like a little emergency pack I take with me. So I always kind of take the kitchen sink kind of deal. Not that I carry a ton of gear, but I can cinch it down. I can pull it down and minimize it if I'm going to take it, on a lift with me, or I'm going to go out, and do the Camel Hump Challenge where I'm going to have to bring, I bring some warm food and some layers in my camera and stuff like that. So I kind of have one pack to do it all. And actually it's getting fixed right now because I actually blew a zipper on it. So I've definitely put it through its paces and it's still functions. And I love it.
Awesome. So it sounds like we all have like a 30-ish liter pack in our repertoire.
Yeah.
Like if somebody were looking for a good size ski pack, like that seems like a good target in the sense that, like if you're just going on a short trip, it works for a short trip. But then if you're going to go out, if you're going to be gone all day long, you do have the capacity to kind of carry the essentials, carry something extra like a camera if you need it, extra snacks, extra layers, all that extra stuff. And it's just a good like middle ground if somebody were looking, wondering where to shoot or where to aim.
Yeah, absolutely.
As far as what are you guys' thoughts on like back panel access versus
yeah,
you guys
like it.
Do you have preferences or do you?
I do.
Okay, let's hear it.
I love the back panel access. I really don't like having to put my pack on that has all of this snow on it again, which makes me even more cold. So being able to just lay it down or else swing it around me where I can actually just open and see everything in front of me is super easy. And then I can legitimately see anything that's in my pack that isn't my Avi gear, which is in the front.
Tristan, you're still using that Code, which is back panel access, right?
Yeah, it is. And actually that's where I finally blew the zipper on it. Cause sometimes it ices up, sometimes you gotta hit it and make before you, zip it. But I usually separate wet gear and dry gear sometimes. Like if you're doing the Camel Hump Challenge and you're shedding layers and, depending on conditions, I like to separate that gear. Sometimes I'll keep my camera in the front and then I'll keep all my clothing and then I'll actually swap it as I shed, warmer layers. So I kind of like divvying it up, wet gear versus dry gear, or my camera versus clothing and stuff. So I love the back panel access. I think it's great. Big fan for sure. Versus a top loader where like, if you're skiing with your buddy and he's like pulling everything out the top just to get to the bottom, it's like, come on, man, like get a back panel access pack.
Josh, do you have Josh, do you have preferences one way or the other?
I haven't owned one that had the back panel zipper. I kind of always chose my pack. I've only bought a couple packs in so many years now, but my main focus was the access to the Avi gear. That was like first and foremost, and then everything else was just price point then, really. So I just didn't end up with one. So.
Yeah, totally. Well, and I don't agree with you guys on the back panel.
Oh my gosh.
I've had an Osprey and the Gregory makes the Targi, I believe, which is back panel access.
Yeah.
And I just never liked like the Code. You always had to like, there were other buckles you had to take apart to get after you do to undo the zipper, take these buckles apart to like open it up. Mm-hmm. I just never wanted to go through all that hassle of like, it felt like a mission to like get the pack open. And so the Targi, I remember, didn't have this, the shoulder straps didn't cross over that, so it was a little bit easier to open. But what I found with the back panel, like I often carry a camera as well. And if you unzip it if you lay it on the ground and unzip it, there wasn't enough structure in the butt, so like the sides would slip and everything would kind of like spill out of it. And I was like, I didn't really enjoy that much either. So I went to a top loader just because it like keeps everything contained, and if I'm organized when I pack it, then I don't end up having to like yank everything out of it.
Like have one of these.
Yeah, totally. All right.
That's what I put for my camera, and then
Nice.
you don't want to see that.
And you just get good at feeling like when you reach into your pack, you're like, is that my glove or is that my hat? Is that my second layer? You pull it.
Pull it all out.
Yeah, just throw it all on the slope, Greg.
Yeah. I mean, like one of the main reasons I went for my pack is really because of fit. It just was a happy accident that it had a back panel too.
Yeah.
Because it's all about what actually fits your torso properly.
Totally. Cool. So I saw a couple questions in here. What do you guys think about like buying bulk skins and making your own? As far as like saving a little bit of money. Is OGE selling bulk skin this year?
We aren't. It's kind of cool if you want to get a whole bunch of the same skin for a whole bunch of your friends, or else if you have like a whole arsenal of backcountry skis. But the bad part is like it's expensive to get bulk skins. Like either way you look at it, you're getting toe clip, tip clips, tail clips, the whole shebang, and you're still having to spend like at least 30 minutes cutting them down to size for each ski. So cost effectiveness, if it's a bunch of people doing the same exact thing, that's great. Otherwise, I'm not a huge fan.
What about like kids skis? You know, you can buy them in bulk, and then you can just use a simple tip loop, no tail clip to put them on. You know,
If you can get it for a good price.
Or skis that have like a tip notch. You know, it seems like those that would make sense. And if you're not running a tail clip, because you're probably right. If you bought bulk skin and a tip kit and a tail kit and had to build it and then cut it down, at the end of the day, it might be a wash. But
the kits are not cheap. They're if you're sewing your own like loop and have a little bungee cord you can throw on there, it makes sense. But perfect. Yeah. Otherwise, the tip and tail clips run you up there real quick.
Yeah, I mean the sets of them cost like $35 per set alone, and I think bulk skins. I mean the cut to length STS BD Ascension ones are like the least expensive skins that you can get, and you still have to cut them to your ski. They're almost exactly the same price as getting the bulk skins.
Yeah. So that's good to know. I think we've been on here for almost an hour and 40 minutes. Before we go, as far as skins go, how about some skin trimming tips? Most people that are going to get into this are going to have to trim their skins. Yeah. And that's something that I feel like a lot of people are kind of like, it's mysterious or it feels a little bit daunting. And so do you guys have any like stories of skin trimming gone wrong, or have you just always knocked it out of the park?
Wow.
I've messed up a few skins. I can admit to that. They were partially my fault, partially not. I was cutting skins while drinking a few ciders in my living room. Yeah. And my dog ran into me, and I was using one of the black diamond tools, which doesn't really trace that well, and it just went straight into the middle of the skin. So my first tip is use the G3 skin trim tool. That thing is the best.
Yeah, absolutely.
It goes in between the ski and the skin, and you legitimately, all you have to know how to do is like trace a plate on a piece of paper. It's like the same concept.
And what are they, $5? How much are they these days?
They're like $7, and it's the best investment you can make.
Yeah, absolutely. And you can hit after you cut a couple pairs, you can hit that this part that goes underneath the glue with some alcohol, because it gets kind of sticky. But absolutely, that is like one of the best things you could say. Absolutely, I'm enough said.
I've cut 4 or 5 pairs of skins with my G3 tool that I got from my original G3 tool.
Yeah.
So
Nice.
yeah, agreed.
That's one thing they do really well is that tool is awesome. And it's cheap, right? It's like $5 or $7.
It's cheap, and if you get a G3 skin, I mean, it comes with it.
And it'll last you for forever, pretty much.
I've got like 4 of them, I think. Still, yeah.
And with my skins, I got the Pomoka cutting tool, and it's pretty sweet. But I think it's like 30 or $40.
Oh,
Like, it's pretty expensive to buy on its own.
Yeah.
But it's just like there's so much more to grab onto. The G3 one is pretty small. But yeah, I've cut a lot of skins with the G3 tool and it works great. And, yeah. So what about skin? Let's go back to skin width. Do you have to cover every inch of your skis with skin, or is it okay if they don't fit perfectly? It's Tristan, it sounds like you run your skins on a bunch of different skis.
Yeah, I do. And I have skied with a couple people who threw a skin that was fatter than their ski. Usually doesn't go well, because if you go to put that edge on, if you're going up and you hit something steep and all the snow's been swept off and there's some ice or some crust, that skin is not going to be your friend. So I would heavily recommend not putting a fat skin on a skinnier ski. As far as width, like coverage, I think technique can oftentimes allow you to run less skin. So as you get better at backcountry skiing, as you do more of it, you can totally go with less coverage for sure. Sometimes I throw on some ghetto. I have some leftover skins from all the skins that I've cut, and I've sewed them together and made like a kicker skin that you can just throw on your fish scales if you want to. And it does pretty well until it ices up or whatever, but like it's kick zone. It's just are, and it works, it works for what it does. I know when to use it and I know not when to use it. But definitely never put a skin on that's fatter than your ski. I just think it's a bad idea unless you have to, unless that's all you got. But that's my 2 cents. Yeah.
And so and it seems like too narrow. There is such a thing as too narrow as well, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, like generally, if the coverage is good, like if you have like a 105 mil ski and a 95 mil ski, you can probably get away with running the same skin on both of them.
Yeah.
But if you have if you don't have a lot of edge exposed, if you have too much base exposed, like when you get into those, like you're saying, like if you're side hilling or you're going up like a cambered slope where you're kind of like only half the ski is kind of engaged in the edge, then you're not on the skin anymore. You're mostly But so what are the warnings? Like make sure your edge is exposed so you can use it.
Yeah, that's what it's there for.
make sure not too much base is exposed.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're going up like a straight up a flat slope, no worries. But if you're
try to cover at least 2/3 of your base of the skin. I think that's a good rule of thumb.
But again, you don't need to cover every square inch of your the tip. And if you've got a pair of skins that fit like a 90 underfoot and you have another pair of skis that are like a 105, like you could buy the second pair of skins, but you don't have to.
You don't need to.
Yeah, with rockered skis, I mean, I started to notice, with rocker, the more rocker you have, that tip isn't even touching the surface, right? So like if anything, cheat back from the tip versus the tail, unless you're on twin tips or whatever. But chances are if you're backcountry skiing, always, cheat from the front versus the back. That's, a good rule of thumb, I think. Yeah.
So great. Thank you guys. Any other quick tips you guys might have or want to share related to kind of like equipment, like backcountry, Alpine Touring or Telemark equipment, or just suggestions or, any pointers? Think we covered it, or everybody's good?
Starting at a resort, skin a lap on a trail, on a resort that lets you go uphill. I mean, that goes a long way. Instead of just jumping right back into the woods, you'll get frustrated real quick. Bolton's a great place. They let you go all the time. We get you with their Nordic uphill pass. Definitely do some inbounds, I guess you could say.
Definitely, yeah. I mean, it seems like more and more resorts are allowing it. And so it's a great place if you're brand new to skinning. It's a perfect place to like get to know your equipment, get to know your skins, you know, sort out your systems, figure out how to layer before you're out in the woods somewhere where like a problem really could become a real problem. You know.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, know your gear before you go out somewhere.
do it in your. I know there are people that practice their transitions in their living room.
Yeah.
They're more the Skimo racer type, but you know, it's a good place to get to know your gear.
Yeah.
But yeah, just do it in a safe environment. And like, you know, an early morning lap at a resort is a great, you know, good for your fitness, good to get to know your gear. And if you might get a sleeper powder day. And
I would definitely say if you're like new to backcountry skiing, try it before you buy a setup. See what's going to match you as a skier the best, because there's a lot of different options ranging from like super, super lightweight to pretty burly. And like Catamount Trail does host events with other people that you can try these types of things out.
Maybe not this year.
Maybe not this year. In a non-COVID year, you would be able to do that. But there are places that rent it, like Bolton Valley, like OGE. So try it before you buy it.
Definitely. It seems like a lot more shops are actually bringing in uphill capable demo gear. And so it's, yeah, definitely, you know, like 7 years ago, you know, 10 years ago, it was hard to try out this stuff without making a commitment. But now it seems like it's much easier to kind of like stop in your local shop, and usually they have something for you to try. So that's definitely good advice for people that are thinking about getting into it and want to like, you know, try stuff out. Like, what is this all about? Is this even something I'm going to like?
Yeah.
You know, is it worth
telemark skiing?
Is it worth you know, hiking uphill for, you know, 60 minutes for a 5-minute downhill? You know, it's like, I think we all say yes.
Yeah. The answer is always yes.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Absolutely.
Anyway, so, all right. So I think that's going to wrap it up for tonight. We keep it under 2 hours long. I do want to let everybody know, I want to thank you guys all for participating tonight, and sharing what you know, and just, you know, carving out 2 hours from your night instead of one like I told you. And then I do want to let everybody know that's watching that we do have, this is the first video in a 5 video series. So next week, we're going to be talking about splitboarding equipment. The week after that, XCD and like Nordic touring equipment. And then we're going to go into like how to dress and what to pack in your pack, and like first aid and repair kit kind of like details. And just hopefully through that, we can kind of cover basically most of what you need to know to like, you know, to get out there.
Fun. Yeah.
So, yeah, I should also, since I work at the Catamount Trail Association, I should make one more pitch for the CTA. We do offer a lot of tours, and like, while this year with the pandemic, it's a little bit tricky. We do have quite a few tours on our schedule for this coming winter. We partnered with some of our, you know, places like OGE and some other places to provide demo gear and do some like introductory tours for both splitboarding and skiing. Some of our chapters have some great tours that are happening. Dutch Hill down in the southern Vermont, they're doing a tour series, which is great to get to know their area. And Dutch Hill is a great place to, you know, if you want to try it out, that's a great place to go. There's not a huge ascent. They have a ton of parking. So one of the big problems we're going to have this year is parking at trailheads is going to be limited. And so someplace like Dutch Hill, you can know there's going to be a parking place for you, and there's going to be space to kind of spread out and stay away from other people, depending on what the current pandemic situation is when we get there. So anyway, guys, thank you so much for being here. And now I need to figure out how to turn this off.
It won't stop.
Oh gosh.
All right. Thanks, guys.
Thanks, Greg.
All right. I think I ended the live stream.